think we're alive. All right, everybody. This is Kevin Hunting from Two Steps Forward Coaching, and I am with
Lauren Weinreb from LBW Coaching, and we are
the K&L Effect. So I'm smiling right now, but if you had just heard our conversation about 3 minutes prior to going live right now, I was just talking to Lauren, and today is my topic, and I didn't really have like a solidified topic, but just putting it out there because I think so many people right now are feeling this way, but I'm not feeling, I'm not feeling inspired. I'm not feeling full of joy. I honestly have been deeply, hurt's not even the word. It's just seeing what happened yesterday during the presidential debate.
without being political, because this is
not about being political.
Not a political conversation.
That's true. I clarify that this is about how you may, on an individual level, be reacting to what happened and what transpired and what was said and how it was said is probably the more important piece. But I mean, I'm really in a place where I'm baffled that this is what America is this is how America is being represented right now. I think, and more importantly, that people, I don't know, there's no sense of empathy or compassion or anything. And I for me, the bigger issue, I think for me, Lauren, is that I just see, in a way, I feel hopeless. I guess there is a sense of hopelessness that I feel in this moment. I can say in general, I am not full of hopelessness or a hopeless type
Not
of
at
individual.
all. I can attest to that.
In this moment right now, it feels like there's a sense of hopelessness and that I don't know, that somehow we've lost our way. So I'll just put it's not really a topic. Responding to, it's literally just being real right now and raw about this is how I'm feeling and responding to what's going on.
It is so understandable. It is so, hell yeah, of course you do, after what you experienced. But the issue is more about, so it makes sense, Kevin. It makes sense that you would feel so much pain. And because you are such an incredibly gracious and kind and loving and inspiring, empowering human being, that this contradiction within your values is affecting you so deeply. And I know you said you didn't want to be coached.
Mm-mm.
I know you don't want to be coached. Okay, so do you want me just to share a perspective of mine of how I'm shifting part of it? Because as you said it, it made me think about something, because I watched and felt a specific way. But in listening to you, which is what I would have, written about and spoke about, I would say to myself something like, well, how true is it that everyone, that the interpretation or the limiting belief that everybody, how true is that everybody, to me, like when I heard you say that, I was like, because that was, for me, I think the separation is it everyone? And when you said it to me, it was almost like you cleared me in a second. And I was like, no, it is not everyone. It is two specific people. Like, I'm not coaching you. I'm telling you that you cleared me. As you said it, I heard you. And I was like, this is not where we are. This is where that space is. This is not about any of the people that I know. Is this about the people you know?
No, it's not about the people that I take that back. There probably are, I think, some members of my family who definitely would be included in this group of people who I think were delighted. I don't know if delighted was the word, but certainly were found some maybe sense of enjoyment in seeing what went down.
Oh.
I know that, and that sounds, that sounds disturbing, because the word enjoyment is definitely a very
humored by.
Yeah, or humored or whatever. I think there definitely are. And I think, again, you're right. You're right. When you break it down and you start to look at like, how true is this for everyone? It isn't true for everyone. There are large numbers of people who I think are walking away and are feeling exactly the same way, are just trying to grapple with, what happened, how it went down, language that was used. I felt like it's the first time that I guess I was thinking about this morning, that a presidential debate should have come with an R or triple X rating as a show. I mean, I can't imagine being a parent with your children watching, this is history. This is American history playing itself live on television. But to hear certain words that were being used and the way that someone was being spoken to, I don't care who you are. Again, I don't care what your political affiliation is. It is absolutely, it's disturbing that is someone, I guess that someone would think that it's okay, that it's a form of, and be able to walk away and I guess have a clear conscience maybe too. And again, I'm making a lot of assumptions, interpretations right now in terms of thinking that certain types of individuals could walk away from that and be able to have still a clear conscience, like I didn't do anything wrong, or
Right.
But I think
maybe they went home and said,
right.
I can't believe I got sucked up into that. I said I wasn't going to. Like, there is that possibility, and we don't get to tell that story.
But
maybe this was like the greatest learning lesson. Maybe this was like, because afterwards, it was like, I was watching news, and it was amazing the horrified reaction, the pause that needed to have been taken from both sides to both sides. Like while there were, like it and I'm not, this to me is not a finger pointing. This was our representation, and these should have been some of our greatest moments. And you said it, you brought it up. And I think this is what's at the core. Correct me, tell me if I'm right. The civility is what's killing, is what's the pain.
I feel like I notice myself just in my day-to-day, not like watching the presidential debate. I do feel that people, again, with COVID, with everything that may be going on in their lives at this point in time, along with this current environment that we're all operating in, I find that people are shorter with each other, probably quicker to react and go to that, anger and frustration and defiance kind of a place more frequently, or quicker, like in a quicker manner, where there's no stop gaps, there's no like stopping to reflect and think, like like we would as coaches, right? Like, how is it that I want to show up right now? Because I can choose in any given moment how I want to show up. And therein, I think for me now is, a lot of people on, it doesn't matter again which side, there is probably a lack of their, I guess, self-awareness that's behind a lot of this, is that people are just living out their collective experiences in their lives, and this is how it's manifesting, right? This is how that's coming out for so many individuals. But I guess that's the piece that just feels so off to me, is like you said, first off, it's not something that is a value of mine, that I respect everyone. I do my best. I mean, yes, I've made errors, I'm human, but that part of it honestly cuts to my soul, that anyone would think that it's okay to disrespect someone else. It's mind-boggling to me that anyone would ever think that that's okay, because they're a human being. That's it. At the basis of it, they're a living human being, just like you are, going through life, trying to, I'm sure, grapple with their life struggles, their, whatever
their
it is, right? Their losses. It could be dealing with a death. Exactly. I mean, a death of someone from COVID. Everyone is dealing with something, but no one ever stops to sort of think about that. Like, no one ever stops sometimes to just sit there and really think, like, wow, what impact am I having on someone else? And if I could have an impact on someone's life, what impact would I choose, what I want to have, you know? And I would hope to God, I mean, I would hope that most people would choose that they would want nothing but the best for someone else.
Yes, that is who you are. And that is why, you know, you and I connect on so many levels, because we share such similar values. And I'm standing opposite you, thinking as a coach, what is the IPEC statement? Every opportunity is an opportunity for growth. There's a lesson in everything. So in this experience, that this may have been one of the most humbling, horrific experiences as a human being, as an adult, to look and witness and see and to question where we are as a community, as a collective whole. What possibility is there, though, that for the reflection of those people, what's the take? Like, think about this. What is the possible takeaway from this tragedy for the people? And I believe that I don't believe it's everybody. I think there was bad behavior, and it is not indicative of everyone. I think it's a growing issue.
I guess,
what is the takeaway?
I mean, and you know what? I know, like, I don't have a lot of expectations. Like, I really am good about not having expectations, because with expectations comes this idea of control, right? That you're trying to control outcomes. But I guess in my mind, you would think that someone who are, you know, some of the top most powerful leaders, right, of our country would somehow embody something that is bigger, or when I say bigger, I'm saying that would be humbled by something perhaps bigger than even themselves, to sort of be a guide for them in some way. And again, I'm not touching into any religion, but you know, a lot of times it is religion that can play that role in people's lives, that kind of provides some guardrails around, you know, how you would, you know, be respectful, and how you would, you know, try to be understanding or giving or empathetic or compassionate to your fellow man or woman, or whoever. I mean, just whoever's, you know, on the spectrum of that entire thing. But it's just, I think for me, that's the piece. And I mean, you're right. I mean, so what is it? You know, what's the opportunity here? Perhaps, like,
what is the opportunity?
You know, I mean, the opportunity that I see is that perhaps there might be a small group of individuals in seeing what went down that are now maybe starting to really challenge themselves in a bigger way, like doing that self-reflection and kind of going back to themselves to say, you know, I can do better. I know that I can be,
absolutely.
I can do better from first starting with myself. I know I can do better. And that's the path that I want to choose for myself, is to, you know, not to be a healer, you know, to help bring people together, and to help make connections and understanding, and build that, which it sounds so idealistic, but it's not idealistic. It's something that it's in front of us, right? It's in front of us, and it's a choice, and it's something that each of us has the power to choose and be, if that's what we want to. And you can be destructive if you want to be as well. You can choose that path. You can choose.
People do that every single day. And maybe it's not about, I think it's interesting that you use the word idealistic, but what if we take that kind of judgment around the word idealistic, like, because the connotation is that it's really outside the possibilities in this grandeur.
Right. I just know that you're right. I was judging that I could hear people listening to me thinking like, oh, that's a pipe dream. You know, that's not
a pipe dream. It's literally right here today, right now. What did you take away? What did you see that you said, wow, ooh, that wasn't good? And what part do I play in that? Whatever those issues are, what part do I play in that in my life? When I have conversations, maybe not even political ones, maybe it's parenting ones, maybe it's with your parents, maybe it's with your neighbor. How do I show up? How we show up, how we respect other people, how we speak to them, the language we use. I can tell you, when I heard certain words on that television, I literally gasped like there was an explosion in the front house. I scared my children. I'm visiting my children. And they were like, what? And I was like, oh my gosh, who said that? And they were like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, you can't say that. I'm like, those were bad words with my children growing up. You would have your mouth washed out with soap.
Right. And that's my point is, I mean, that's what I was saying. It should have come with like a XXX rating in terms of, you know, people that could actually view it. And so,
but it was,
you know, I mean, you know what I would seriously, I feel like, you know, here's our plea. Like, my plea would be that, you know, both individuals can find it within themselves to be able to recognize that, like, I mean, how do you justify? I guess that's the thing. Like, right? So maybe on the flip side, yes, there is the idea of you have a choice. I have a choice to be constructive, to help build something better, to be a part of a solution or possibilities, to bring people together and to build, you know, a common understanding or even more understanding, even when we may disagree on so many things, because that's life. But it's, you know, at what point do you start to, I guess my point is too, at what point does someone who has such power, people who have such power and influence, where is someone, you know, where is that someone challenging them on a level where I guess, you know, that they're able to somehow justify the behavior? I guess that's what it is how do you justify it? How do you, and I know it's only these individuals, right, can answer that question for themselves, because it's a very individual type of, again, reaction. The thoughts, emotions that each individual has is on them. It's really, again, it's based on their cumulative experiences in life. But for me, I think that's the piece where sometimes it feels hopeless. And you can, it's easy to go to that place of hopelessness that you're like, you know, so how do we start, how do you reach more people? How do you raise the collective consciousness in a bigger, more powerful way? And I know it's one person at a
time.
It is, but
that's why you do what you do. That's why I do what I do. That should only empower you to maybe go bigger. You know, maybe, you know, it's about, you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we do for a living. And if that's too woo-woo for anybody listening, then I'm not your kind of person, and that's okay. How we show up, if that's my top value, you know, we're all going to have different values. They're not going to be the same. But if I decide, you know, we have to decide what our values are as a whole, and we have to hold people accountable to them. You know, we've kind of, you know, as things progress in life, we've lowered the bar. Here's a little bit of my thought. I don't necessarily believe that these things weren't going on behind closed doors.
I agree that,
like,
I think that's probably the challenge, and that's what you're right. It's now that there's been more exposure, there's more visibility.
Right.
I do feel that, like you said, I mean, and it even, like, you know, so close to us too, like this idea of not denouncing white supremacy and not denouncing people who, you know, would rather see, I mean, really would like, you know, rather see like Jews dead, or, you know, and that was going on even before. Remember, I mean, the synagogue in Philadelphia, like there's been all of these, like an increase in these types of
the awareness
behaviors
too, because I think things were going on, and social media allows us now to get right up close and to blow it up. And not that we don't need to see these things. However, it is so much more accessible. And so what happens is we become a little desensitized, or we just allow it to be shown.
But
So
and that's
blatantly.
that's for me, that is where it's really dangerous, Lauren. That's the danger, is if we cannot become desensitized to this. That is the part that probably cuts to my core too, is being desensitized to it actually leads to someone eventually, right? Probably saying it doesn't really matter because it doesn't affect them, right? If it doesn't affect me on an individual level, then why would I care? And I think we're already in this path where that's kind of, I'm not saying everyone, there are a lot of people who meant from a mentality standpoint, don't ever, will never, probably, never say never, but will never think to themselves that someone else that is so different than they are, who has been treated so unfairly throughout their life, or unequally, or in a way that, again, is very disrespectful, will never care, right? And turn away, and kind of turn away like it's not my problem.
Right.
But it is. But it
right?
is. It's all of our.
It's not my problem. It doesn't affect me.
But I think that's the scare, that for me, it's, again, I say it's scary. It is, that's the scary part, is that, there are groups of individuals who can be targeted, and there's been more visibility around those types of behaviors. And I think, again, if we become more desensitized, and I know we're talking now like kind of outside of the coaching realm, but that's why I'm saying, like, it's, I feel like the messages around coaching, and IPEC, if you're listening to this video, how do you turn this up? How do we amplify this in a way that more people can somehow be exposed to our own self-imposed limitations, which is really what they are, based on belief systems, based on our thoughts and our emotions, to unlock the potential, right, of something that's a much more beautiful, what I would say beautiful. I hope other people would think it's beautiful. I mean, again, there may be people that are really like, I don't see any beauty in that, but a more fundamental understanding of, of the importance of recognizing that it doesn't matter who you are. It really doesn't. I don't care if you are Jewish, if you are African-American, if you're Latino, it doesn't matter. You are a living human being. You are a product of, for me, you're a product of creation.
Of the universe.
Exactly.
And I think, to bring it right back to coaching, it's about self-reflection. It's about, where am I in this? How is it that I show up, and what is it that I'm not aware of that I'm contributing that may be blocking?
Well, girl, I'm telling you, we have got a lot of work to do. There is a lot of effing,
okay, so maybe this is about raising, maybe this was like the biggest sucker punch that says, gotta raise my game. I've been coasting. Like, what if that's the joy? Gotta raise my game. Holy crap.
Maybe you're right.
Maybe this was the, like, literally witnessing the shits. I just can't imagine. Actually, I have to tell you something. There was a moment last night, and I said to my children, I think they may actually start punching each other. Like, there was that real true, like, I thought they were going to get into, I know that you think that's crazy, but I said, I think it looks like they're literally somebody's going to throw a punch. And so how am I responsible?
Yes.
Inside.
Where is my ownership? Where is my ownership and accountability in all of this?
Not just politically, in any conversation. Right. Do I take a position? Do I not listen? Do I not empathize? Do I not have compassion? Do I not have grace? Do I not know what not to say to hurt another human being?
Or hurt, or even do, like actions. Actions are happening every day as well. And I think that's the question that people, if you're watching this and you're watching it on the replay, it is really worth it to take a step back and say, you know, what is my role in this? And what is it, what type of future do I want to see for myself? And not the idea is to not just for you on a very individualistic, ego-based, but what about everybody else? Like,
What's my
what kind of a
part in this
society, right? What
universe?
kind of a society do we want to see evolve over time? What is it that we want to experience over time? And if we're not living that and manifesting that, then we're obviously manifesting something else, which is, you know, something that is probably dangerous. And I'm saying dangerous for so many. So I agree with you. It's like, what role do I play in this to help create more light in the world? That's it. I mean, what is your role in trying to create more light in this world?
And it starts today. It starts today. What is, and it's not just what can I do, because part of the problem is we don't know what we're bringing to the table. Oh, so many of us. I mean, even as a coach, I turn around every time I have an issue and you coach me, there's something else I'm pulling out from the back that I didn't realize that was keeping me blocked. But it's that willingness to see your truth and to pull back the energy and the emotions that are driving your interactions. And so I think people need to realize that we are not just living in the present moment. We are bringing everything from our past to the present moment, which creates these muddy filters, which limit our greatest potential. So we have to be able to start doing some dirty work, everybody. What the hell am I doing that may be impacting other people in a not positive way?
And make
regardless
it,
of what a good person you think you are.
You can start, one of the things that you could start doing is, and this is, again, now we're talking more of like from a coaching point of view here is, you know, it might be interesting that if you're watching this and you are an individual that wants like that direction in your life in terms of what your role is, you know, start visioning for yourself like 6 months from now or a year from now, like, what do you want the world to look like? And I'm not saying, again, you can start with your family and your kind of immediate nucleus, like your immediate family and friends as a starting point. But, you know, what would it look and feel and be like if you were spreading and creating more light in the world? What would that actually start to look like? Which then hopefully will, honestly, our thoughts are as powerful as, if that is what you're filling yourself up with, it will start to manifest itself, because that's how powerful our thoughts are. Our thoughts can sabotage us. Our thoughts can propel us. Right. Our thoughts can get us through some of the darkest moments in our lives.
They fuel our emotions. Right. Energy attracts like energy. So if you're stuck in catabolic thoughts, why? What are the thoughts? How true are they? You know, there's all these, you know, ways to break those down. If you're finding yourself frustrated, why are you frustrated? What's frustrating you? What's triggering that frustration? Where did that come from? How true is it? Any emotions that you have are complete information. When you're angry, when you're sad, just keep saying, but why is that? But why is that? Because you're not just mad about it. What else? You're not just upset about this. There's a reason this upset you, and it's connected to something else. It takes a lot of self-reflection, and it's a journey. And I feel like maybe this opened the door into the light that you're talking about, into, like, I think everybody left there going, like, speechless. I watched newscasts and they were like,
WTF, you know, everyone was like, I don't even, I mean, what just happened?
Where do we go from there? Where do we go? And you know what?
Where do we go is exactly that. It's your choice. It's my choice. It's all of our choices. And if you feel like you're in a place where perhaps you want to do that examination, kind of go deeper and understand like the why behind perhaps the way you think and how your beliefs are informing that, you know, we are here for that. And actually, I feel lighter. I feel like even you and I, right before we got here, we were like, should we do it? There was kind of a question whether we were going to go live today, but I am so grateful that we went live because I really was carrying a lot before we started this. And I do feel a bit lighter in terms of how I'm feeling now. And that also, you know, all of us individually need to keep pushing forward to create the world that we envision. And hopefully that world is a world full of understanding, compassion, and empathy, and respect, and honesty for each other. But it starts with you being able to do that first with yourself, which is be honest with yourself.
Right? You
Trust
can't change
yourself.
anybody else. The only
Respect
thing
yourself.
you do is reflect on you, and how
And
you show up affects everybody else.
so, okay, big exhale. I still feel like I have like, there I can feel the energy. I could feel the energy, you know, but the not so, I would say, like destructive energy before we started in my system. And so anyway, you can reach us. We will be here next week. This was a very, I would say, off the extemporaneous topic that we had today, but it's so relevant because it's based on obviously what's happening right now in many people's lives. I think today it'd be interesting to understand if you could measure where people are in terms of their mindset right now after yesterday. It'd be so interesting if we're able to kind of get that like distribution.
I was looking at my phone when I looked down, so I didn't want you to think I wasn't listening.
Yeah.
My phone was frozen. I was hoping to be able to, I always miss the comments. If you're on the replay, post a comment. Let's start some conversations. I think it's really important for us to say it, to put it out there.
Absolutely.
In our families, there's going to be, especially in this arena, this side and this side, for sure. So how do you protect and love and nurture and allow your family to be safe from what we witnessed? Because it's so easy to go there. So what is it that you need to do? You are responsible.
I think a bigger question too, Lauren, is why does there have to be sides? Why do we think in that way to begin with? It's a belief that there has to be sides. Why does there have to be sides? Why can it not just be to be?
Because I don't think we always agree. I'm not saying
but that's
I'm not talking about sides. I'm saying I think it's inherent,
yes.
Kind of like the concept of judging. It's just this thing. I don't like pizza, you like pizza. Why does there have to be catabolic, nasty energy about it?
Correct.
You know?
Why does there need to be that negative energy? For the most part, most of the times it can be this kind of destructive energy around how people feel like they need to defend themselves. And I'm like, but why can't you just know and feel very confident and comfortable that, you know what, I don't like pizza, but you like pizza, and that's okay.
So how do we meet everybody's needs? Like how, and that's the question. We clearly all have very different needs. How do we decide that? How do we get to the place? You know what this reminds me of? I would serve on a lot of PTA boards or whatever, and I would go and I would witness people who joined the board because their child had a specific need, and that's what they focused on. And I was always surprised by that because I thought it's not about one, the program isn't about one child. It is about all of the children. And so it was always really hard for me because I found myself getting very like, just, oh my gosh, consider everyone. Don't just consider one, consider everyone. And that was 100 years ago. And now, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. How do we, in peace and kindness, come to the table, which is where I think we are, is struggling to figure out how to do that. But the greater part is how we show up and what we're giving up by not showing up to our best, in our best human, kind, higher self. What are we giving up in the end?
And again, what's the impact? There's a cost there is a cost, and the cost is going to manifest itself somehow in whatever form however it needs to be expressed and to be released, it will be. And I think, again, this is such a hot topic in terms of, how do you reach more people, and how can we start to build, like you said, just more understanding. But first, again, the understanding starts with each of us individually. And so
where's our responsibility? We
where's
each
our
have
own individual responsibility?
We each contribute to this greater.
Yes. As much as people want to make it like you versus me, it's us. There is, I'm American and you're American. It doesn't matter. Again, it could be across, like you said, something as minuscule as like a type of pizza that, we may disagree on in terms of I like one and you like something else, that grows into this, again, political affiliations. But at the end of it, I'm still an American just like you are. And so that means that, how do we start to see that that is something that binds us together versus something that is somehow now being like pitted against each other.
Right.
And so,
and the humanity in respecting the humanity,
right,
and how you show up and how you speak and the words that you use and the energy that you use, is, yeah. I mean,
it's powerful.
I was right where you were.
As much as you may not think that it has an effect, everything has an effect. It doesn't matter what it is, but there is you're impacting and touching people every single day of your life. And so I would ask you to just please stop and go inward and reflect on how it is that you really want to show up as a person, and how important that is for the person or the individuals that you may be interacting with, because it's like a ripple effect. It really is. And I know we're a little bit over, but
if anybody is anybody out there, if you're listening, if you or someone you know has been filled with emotions, and you may know what they are: anger, frustration, sadness, hopelessness, apathy,
defiance,
whatever the emotion is, if you need some help right now and you want to kind of look into the behind and the potentials, if you're willing to take like one little step to do your part to make one little shift, Kevin with 2 Steps Forward coaching is available. The link will be inside
in the comments. Yeah,
it will be in there. Lauren, LBW coaching. I'm happy to have a conversation. No charge. Pick up the phone. This is so important. Please, if you know somebody who, my friend Kevin was talking with me and I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening to him? If you know a friend, share our number. It's there. And it needs to be released. And we don't know how, sometimes we just don't know how to do that. We don't know where it comes from. So let's connect with each other. And this is, Kevin, how you and I are going to show up to make a difference.
Absolutely. And again, I ask that please, it's so important that we all do our part. We all have a part in this, because that's how it works, is that we're all interconnected. And so, and don't do it for yourself. Again, do it for something bigger than yourself, because if there's so much beauty to be found in creating and building, and not being stuck in that like anger, frustration, and defiance. There's another world that exists outside of that, that is going to be much more empowering and much more liberating to a certain extent. And so again, connect with us if you're out there. We'd love to have a conversation, and we will be back next week at 12 p.m. Eastern on the K&L Effect. Yeah.
Okay.
So thank you guys so much for really, seeing us in the raw. I would call this this was called the K&L Raw Effect, because it was pretty, a lot of emotions at the surface. So thank you for listening.
Jumping in, Kevin. I was going to say thank you for jumping in. I didn't know which way this was going to go today, but you're beautiful.
Thank you, Lauren, as well, because you really, helped shift me in a way that I needed to, because I just wasn't in the best place. And so we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.